Welcome to Larp Academia. Today we are going to talk about Amtgard, or more specifically, the Archer class in Amtgard. And even more specific than that, what you get at 5th level. Now you get 2 more specialty arrows of your choice. Now I know you've gotten to choose these arrows at 1st level and 3rd level already, but this brings the total arrows that you could have up of 1 type of arrow up to 3 if you do not have looked the part, and 4 if you have looked the part. You can assemble your specialty arrows in any way that you see fit beyond this, and there may not seem to be a lot to talk about, but in the first one it was just, hey, choose at 1st level. 3rd level, try to think of what trick shots, some interesting ways that you could use specialty arrows. But now, today we're going to talk about what I've seen and talk to some fellow archers about the best ways to use your specialty arrows. Now the first arrow that we'll be talking about is the destruction arrow. Now as we've already talked about, destruction arrow can destroy shield and destroy armor. Normally your arrows are armor breaking. So the only one that it would really be effective on is warriors, or if there are knights on the field, possibly paladins and anti-paladins. Now if you are facing knights, definitely use a destruction arrow to destroy their armor. But for warriors, generally they have ancestral armor up all the time. Now ancestral armor means that any shot from armor destroying or armor breaking from you just boop, takes off 1 point. A destruction arrow isn't that great on warriors since they always seem to somehow have ancestral armor up, which is annoying. Now the best people to use a destruction arrow on would be a scout or a barbarian. The reason why is that healers and bards, the 2 other casting classes, well, and druids, the 3 other casting classes that have shields, can just mend their shields back up right there. I mean, this doesn't do that much. But if you use it on a barbarian, they have to throw away a vital piece of protection and run to the back in order to get their shield mended. If you do it to a scout, the same thing happens. They have to be taken off the front line if they want to get their shield, or, what happens most of the time, they'll want to keep fighting. They're a martial class. It's just, let's throw away that piece of equipment and let's go. Now they're easier for you to hit because their main source of protection against you is gone. So that's the best instance of destruction arrow that I've been able to find. But what about poison arrow? Poison arrow is actually fairly obvious. You want to use it on a field that has very little armor. So if you're on a field that doesn't have a lot of druids to enchant people, or where people just don't wear armor overall, then poison arrow should be your main arrow. Even if a person's a monk, they might be able to miss that block and then it just hits their arm, they're dead. If anyone else is hit by a bouncing arrow, if it hits their arm or it bounces off the ground into their leg, they're dead. Poison arrow is extremely powerful on a field with no armor. This works very well against some other casters who are peer casters like wizards, but overall, you want to make sure that there won't be a lot of armor. Otherwise, your poison arrow won't be very effective. Now, the last specialty arrow that we have to talk about is the pinning arrow. Now, the beauty of the pinning arrow is that it's pretty much useful for everyone. It's not that useful against casters because they have the ability to release themselves, and scouts also have the ability to release themselves as well. Pinning arrow isn't as useful as warriors because they have this ability, shake it off, which means they're only pinned for 10 seconds. It's still 10 seconds, but assassins are also able to shadow step. So what does that leave us? That doesn't leave us very much, but it leaves us with barbarians. That's right. Barbarians are not usually able to be stopped by almost anything in the game. That's why a person plays a barbarian. But you have one of the few things that can actually stop them, that can control them. Barbarians hate it when they're hit by a pinning arrow. So instead of destroying their shield, you could shoot it with a pinning arrow and then destroy their shield and then just pick them off. Now you can use pinning arrows on assassins, warriors, barbarians, or a whole bunch of other people, and it works best if they are flanking or on the sides. That way you're able to stop their flank, you're able to pick off the isolated people, and you are able to make it so that your pinning arrow is not only the most effective, but retrievable as well, or at least easily retrievable for you without even having to use that valuable reload. Now, these are the best instances that I've been able to find with these arrows and that I've talked to other archers about. Now, if you find different ways to use these arrows. If you think that a pinning arrow is best used on a healer for some reason, I would love to hear your explanation why in the comments below. But this is my take on the deepest dive that we have into the specialty arrows that you can choose. Once again, I would love to hear your thoughts on specialty arrows, the best ways that you think you should use them, and when you should use them, what type of field each arrow is most effective on. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep watching for more content on LARP and Amtgard in general.